Hi, everyone, and welcome to Between Friends. I'm Ashley Jones, and I'm excited to be here with you today, talking about some fun embroidery stuff. So if you haven't already, tell us over in the chat where you are watching from, and maybe what's going on in your area. So I'd love to hear, and we'll just say hi to everyone while we're waiting for a few more people to join, and just give her a little extra time for everyone to get here. So tell me where you're watching from, and what you're working on. I'd love to hear what's on your embroidery machine, or what's the last thing that you've stitched. So tell us that as well. So welcome Cheryl from Virginia. So Zion Crossroads, Virginia. So Laura Parks, thanks for being here. Good to see you again. Judy Rhodes, nice to have you here. She said it's a gorgeous afternoon in Pennsylvania. So this is spring is definitely one of my favorite times of year. So the weather is beautiful. I know a lot of places across the country. So maybe it's not so much for Candace, but it is sunny, even though it's 26 degrees. So, and maybe Candace likes the cold weather, but beautiful sunny day. You can't beat that no matter what temperature it is out there. So, hey, Marianne, thanks for being here. Good to see you here today. And Eileen Reichert, thanks for being here from Maryland. So sunny in Maryland too. So must be a nice sunny day across the U.S. So Melanie Hart from Northern Florida, thanks for being here. So Laurie Albrecht, you guys know Laurie, she's part of our education team here. So thanks for being here. Hey, Roy, thanks for joining. So Roy's in Texas, and Harriet Ann Palmer from Homestead, Florida. She's pretty close to me here in the north. So thanks for being here, Harriet Ann. So, and then Lib Miller Daughtry says a sunny and cool day. So not too bad. So Sharon, upstate New York. So good to be here. I used to be up there close to the border. So good to have you here. So I see everybody piping in, and glad to have everybody here, and seeing what's going on at your place. So Massachusetts is freezing, Sandy says. So yeah, I'm sure it is a little cold up there right now. So I'll keep my temperature to myself here in Florida then. So welcome everyone. And I see over on our DZGNS page, we've got Colleen. So thanks for joining, Colleen, over there from Colorado, and also from Crossville, Tennessee. Thanks for joining, Carolyn. So glad to have everybody here. So okay, so I have a really fun topic to talk about today. I am going to be sharing with you about doing cross stitch on your embroidery machine. So this is a very nostalgic type of stitching for me. I used to watch my grandmother and my mother doing cross stitch by hand, and of course with modern technology, we can do it with our embroidery machine. So I'm going to be sharing some information with you today on where these designs come from. I'm also going to show you how to create them. You guys know me, I love software, so I'm going to show you how you can create these types of designs, but you can also purchase them, and we're going to talk about different types of fabric you can stitch on, but then also what type of stabilizer and needle, bobbin, thread, we're going to cover all of that today too. So I'm pretty excited. So it's a really fun topic. So let's get started and just talk about cross stitch in general. And then we're going to go into some details. So I made several different things because since I was sharing with you, I wanted to test this on a variety of different types of fabric. I've done it in the past, one or two things here and there on my embroidery machine, but I really wanted to put it to the test. So I tested by stitching on, a regular woven fabric, our quilting cotton. I also did even a knit little baby bodysuit there with that little miniature design, and also on Aida cloth. And that's what we're going to be talking about mostly today. But you can do this technique on any embroidery machine and any type of fabric. It's really just an embroidery design that we're talking about. But let's talk cross stitch. So cross stitch is a counted thread embroidery, and this is traditionally done by hand. And you make an X pattern, an X type stitch, and then those X stitches fill a shape to create your design. So we're going to make our embroidery machine do these X type stitches so you don't have to do it by hand. But this is a traditional type of embroidery. It is an easy type. If you've ever done hand embroidery, it's an easy one to learn because it's very straightforward making these X's. And they even do the cross stitch by hand on a cloth called Aida cloth. I've actually heard it pronounced several different ways. So if you like to pronounce it a different way, then hey, we're all different. So, but I feel like the consensus was Aida cloth. So this is an open weave fabric that counting cross stitches is done on so that it's easier, because normally when you're doing a cross stitch type pattern, you have to count the number of X type stitches to form your design, and you usually have a pattern that you're following. Now this particular type of fabric here is designed mainly to be used with cross stitch. It has that open weave so that you can put your needle specifically in that weave to make those perfect X's. Now if you're a really good cross stitcher, I know that a lot of people can do it if they're really good and they practice a lot on regular fabric that doesn't have this open weave. But what I've done in my very limited hand embroidery experience has all been on that Aida cloth. Now this is a pre-starched type of fabric, so it is pretty stiff, so that you could embroider it without a hoop, but a lot of times you'll see it put into like a round hand embroidery hoop just to make it easier to hold. But it is pretty stiff, which for embroidery, it makes it easier for our machine embroidery because the fabric is behaving, we'll say. There are a variety of different types of Aida cloth, and they range from different counts, like anywhere from 7 count to 28 count. And I've actually seen higher than that, but once you get to a higher count, you tend to not even be able to recognize the weave. It just looks like a linen. So for what we're talking about today, I'm going to be talking about more of these different counts that you can actually see the difference in the weave. So we'll see that. And the larger the number, the smaller the weave, because of the amount of stitches that fit into a certain area. So, you can see this open weave as I zoom in here. And so your needle on hand embroidery cross stitch falls into those openings. You put it through there to make that perfect X. So it keeps your X's perfect as you're building your design. So now that count that we're talking about. So Aida cloth has the count like 11 count, 14, 18, and 28 are the examples I have for you here today. But the count of the fabric determines the size of the stitch. So 14 count means that there's 14 holes per stitch. I've also heard some people say that means 14 stitches per inch with that count. So you can kind of imagine. And here I've got some examples. You can see there for the 11 count, you can barely tell that it's even an X. But then whenever you go up to the 28 count, the stitches are larger. So you can definitely see those bigger stitches there. So, and actually I have that backwards. So that was my mistake. So it actually should be the opposite for the 28 count is really small. And I've got my example under here. So I just have my numbers there backwards. So let's head over and take a look at that before we start talking about designs. And so I'm going to go under my camera here, and you can see that I've got different colors because it does come in a variety of colors, and even more than this. But as I raise it up, take a look at the variation in the weave. So I've got different counts in my Aida cloth here. I have the 28 count, which is this weave that you can barely even see the open weave. It just kind of looks like linen fabric. But then as I go to the 11 count here, the stitches are much larger, and you can see that the weave is open. In fact, you can see the light coming through that black one there in the back. So I stitched on several different of these, and I changed the count of my stitch to match these so that we could see what those look like. So let me grab those. So I just stitched a simple design to start. So I've got 4 different hearts here and 4 different counts of fabric of the Aida cloth. So the first one here is the 28 count. And so 28 count meaning 28 stitches or holes per inch. So the X type stitch has to be much smaller to fall within that weave. So if I raise this up, these little stitches are so tiny you cannot even really tell that they're X's. So even as the light kind of catches it there, you can't really tell that it's an X, but you know, hey, if that's the look that you're going for, and it also adds a lot of detail. So maybe you need that detail as part of your design. So that is the 28 count, and the stitches are really small X's. And so here, this is the 18 count. As I raise that up, you can definitely start to see that the X's are more visible for that type of stitch there. And look at my hand too. You can also see through those openings. So because the weave is a little more loose of that particular type of count. And then here, this is a 14 count, and this was the one that I liked the most. I felt like I got good detail with the 14 count and the appropriate size X to form the design, but it wasn't so tiny you could still make out that it was a cross stitch design there. So, and I've got other examples we're going to see as well. And now this one is the 11 count. And so as I bring that up, you can see that you can definitely see how big the X's are there. And you can also tell the larger or the more open weave there for the holes. So when you're first learning to do cross stitch by hand, a lot of times people will use a 14, which was my favorite for the machine embroidery, or larger, because it's easier for a beginner. So that's what we're going to be seeing today. So let me share you some examples of some different designs that I created, and we'll talk about how to create them. So this cute little example here, this little chick, is all cross stitch done on that Aida cloth. And look at that. And I'm going to talk about getting the needle of your embroidery machine lined up with those holes in the Aida cloth to give you that look like it was done by hand. So isn't that cute? So that design I created, but I also have other designs. Some of these are purchased. These cute little miniature designs I got from Embroidery Library, and they had done these little cute little miniature keychain holders here for the embroidery, and I just thought it was adorable. Isn't that cute? So tiny. I mean, you can see compared to the size of my hand here, how cute and tiny, but isn't that adorable? So you can purchase designs if you want, and you can also create them if you have the ability to. So here's another design. I purchased the floral part from Embroidery Library, but I turned it into a bookmark. And then this example here I created in my embroidery software, and I even used a variegated thread. So take a look at the stitches. That's all one color, but I used one of our new variegated embroidery threads, the Purple Passion, and you can see it has a very subtle change on the spool, but I could really see it there in my design. So the thread that I used for all of my examples were my embroidery thread. You could certainly use a cotton thread if you want, as long as it'll run in your embroidery machine, but I think our polyester thread is the perfect thread. It makes a really nice stitch, and also I've got so many colors to choose from, and it has that nice sheen. So this variegated, this is our new meadow, and I put that in the leaves there. So that's all cross stitch, and it makes that really cool effect because the cross stitches are kind of moving all over. So you get kind of that random change in color. So I really love doing that, the cross stitch with the variegated thread. Now I am going to be talking about Aida cloth quite a bit, but you can do these designs on any type of fabric that you would do your embroidery on. So here, for example, I was testing these two little designs before I stitched it out for my project there. And this is just quilting cotton. And I did a cutaway stabilizer, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. But it turned out really cute. So you do not have to have this fabric. You can do this technique on any type of fabric that you want. But I was really going for that, that hand-stitched look, which is why I chose to stitch on that Aida cloth there. But take a look at this. I love how this turned out. So this is just a cloth napkin that I can have on my table for spring. I did the cross stitch bunny. And then this is a regular embroidery design here that is has applique. Well, it really wasn't even applique. I just put a piece of HTV behind it to fill in the bow. But isn't that cute? So I've got regular embroidery and the cross stitch together. And this is just a napkin that I purchased and added the design to it. So again, it doesn't have to be the that Aida cloth. Here is a little tea towel that I did here, and this is a cross stitch letter with added embroidery to that as well. So isn't that cute? So you can create cross stitch letters or purchase them. I know there's a lot of places that have those. And then lastly, and probably the most surprising, I did this cute little design on this little baby bodysuit. So this is knit. And I have to say, when I started stitching, I really didn't know how it was going to turn out, but I did my stabilizer that I would choose for a normal embroidery design on a knit, which was my no-show stabilizer, and it stitched out beautifully. Look how cute that is. And that cute little design there, that little itty-bitty mushroom is also from Embroidery Library. Isn't that adorable? So I just love it. So, I mean, you really can use these designs on a variety of different types of fabric. And if you've got an embroidery machine, you can do this. So it really is fun and easy, and I sure enjoyed it. So I see everybody commenting. So Dawn says, love the napkin. I know, Dawn, turned out so cute, right? So, and then Sharon said, love the tea towel. Great ideas. I like this idea. It really just gives you that traditional look, but you didn't have to do anything by hand, which I absolutely love. So they're very cute. Thank you all. Thank you all. So they were really, really fun to create for sure. So, and then Facebook user, I don't see a name with that because you do have to let StreamYard see your name, but it's okay if you don't want to. It said, did you use stabilizer? And if so, which type? So I actually used the stabilizer appropriate for the fabric that I chose. So if I stitched on the knit, I chose the right stabilizer for knits, which is no show. My quilting cotton, I actually put a cutaway under there to test. Under the Aida cloth, I used tearaway, and we're going to mention that again as well too. So, and Jill, thanks for joining. Jill, so she said she loves the purple. And so, okay, so now I already told you, you can purchase designs. There are many designers out there that have cross-stitch designs that you can purchase. Embroidery Library is where I got the designs that I used today that you saw, and then I also created some of them. But if you guys have Dime's Perfect Embroidery Pro, you can actually create your own cross-stitch designs very easily. And I wanted to show you exactly how easy that is. So the other designs that I did not purchase, all I created with my Perfect Embroidery Pro. So let's head over and see exactly how we can do that. So okay, so I'm in my Perfect Embroidery Pro software here, and to create a cross-stitch design, it's actually one of the stitch types. So over in the bottom right, our effects panel here, this option here where my cursor is blinking is the cross-stitch option. So all we need is an artwork to turn it into the cross stitch. So let's do the heart shape, and then we'll do something a little bit more intricate. So I'm just going to choose from my artwork tool, and I'm going to draw, click and drag to draw that heart shape. Select the heart, and all I have to do is click, and that is my cross stitch design. Was that easy? I mean, it seriously doesn't get much easier than that. And if I wanted to change the color, I certainly could do that, or just change the thread. Now, if we watch it stitch out, you can see that it's making all those little X's for the design to create your cute little cross stitch. Isn't that adorable? I just absolutely love it. It doesn't have jump stitches. They all link and connect, and so there's no jump stitches that you have to trim when your artwork is good. So I just love that. Okay, so now let's talk about the stitch size. So we've already heard about the different counts of the Aida cloth, and so for those different types, I changed here. So for an 11 count is, and I do actually have that right. I'm confusing myself. All these numbers back and forth, but that is correct, because the 11 count is going to have a 2.5 millimeter stitch, but it's just with the wrong heart. So this tiny little one here is what that's supposed to be. And then the 2 millimeter is actually here. So I just have my numbers backwards. So the numbers are correct. They just were with the wrong heart. Okay, now that makes sense. So the 28 count Aida cloth, remember, it is a really tighter weave. It looks like linen. You really can't make out the pattern of the X on the 28 count that I showed you under the camera. So this tiny little X here has to be smaller to fall within that hole. And then the 18 count, the 1.5 millimeter, and then the 2 millimeter for the 14 and the 2.5. So when I select one of these to change this particular setting, it's over here in your properties. So when I select a cross stitch design over here in my properties, I have this X for my cross stitch tab, and I can change the size of the X. I can also change the overlap and the repeat. So the repeat is going to build up the fabric. So like if you want it to repeat twice, that's going to bulk it up. If you like the look of thicker thread, then you certainly could change that and it'll repeat over itself. The overlap is, as you would expect, the overlap of the stitches, and then the size 2.5 is the size of 1X. And so on this green heart here below, let me zoom in. And then if I were to change this to the 1 millimeter, you can see that my X's get really small. So that 1 millimeter is what I used for that 28 count cloth there. Now, why would you want to do these different sizes of that X stitch? Well, if you're trying to make it fall within those holes of the Aida cloth, that's one of the reasons, but also for detail. So take a look at this example here. So this is my artwork flower, and each one of these I changed to a different size stitch. So you can see how in the 1 millimeter here, it shows much more detail of the tulip than does the 2.5 millimeter here. So you might be trying to get your design to show a lot of detail. So reducing the size of that stitch is going to show up more of the detail there in that example. Now for my little chick, for any of you guys that own Cut and Stitch and Perfect Embroidery Pro, I just selected my little chick from my Cut and Stitch artwork. I resized him to the size that I needed, and I put that in a little 4-inch frame. So I made him 3.5 inches. And then notice how some of your artwork has this overlap. I don't want it to have that overlap, because then I'll have stitches on top of stitches. So I'm going to do a right mouse click, shaping, and trim. And then when I do trim, it'll actually cut out anything that overlaps so that I don't have overlapping artwork. And now all I did was select this, click on my cross stitch, and Isn't that cute? So adorable, right? So I just love it. I think that there's so many things that you can do. So now let's talk about specifically stitching on the Aida cloth. Remember, you can do this technique on any type of fabric, but I'm going to show you how to line up the Aida cloth particularly. So, and then this was just a reminder in case I forgot to show you over there in the software that the smaller the stitch, you can create more detail with those smaller stitches. But me personally, I really like to see that it is an X, so it looks like a cross stitch, but it really is just a personal preference on what size stitch, especially if you're putting it on a fabric that is not Aida cloth. But even if you're stitching on the Aida cloth, it really does not have to line up perfectly. It just gives the appearance of hand stitching. So, and then Laura Park says, so on the Aida cloth, you line up the needle with the hole and each cross stitch will embroider in the hole. That is the goal, Laura, yes. But as you know, with our embroidery machines and our thread pulls tighter to the back than it does when you're hand stitching. So not everyone's going to line up, but I would say like on my little chick, the majority of them did. And I've got a zoomed in example that I show you. So that's a really great question too. So, and then Laurie says, I'm going to try some with the vintage thread instead of the cotton. So our vintage embroidery thread is a matte finish polyester thread. And so, yes, that's a really great use of that thread, Laurie. Good, really good point. So, and then Natalie Bush says, are you using Aida cloth? Do you find you have to trouble lining it up? So I just start and get it perfectly centered in my hoop. And I've got an example of that. And then I make sure my needle lands in one of those holes to start with. And I'll show you that coming up just in a second here, Natalie. So really good question. And then Terry, thanks for being here. Good to see you as always, Terry. So how do you handle tie-offs when you are stitching cross stitch? So do you leave the cutter turned on or turned off? So I did not change any of my machine settings. I did slow my machine down for the really tiny X's when I was doing the 1 millimeter and the 1.5. But other than that, I left my trimmer on and it tied off and it cut for each color before moving on to the next one. And I had no issues dealing with that. So another really good question. So, and then Marianne, thanks for being here, Marianne. Good to see you. She said, oh my gosh, it's amazingly easy with PEP. So can't wait to try it. So yes, it is. So just select and change it to that stitch type. So, so yeah, super easy, and then save it to your machine format. So Jenny, and she said she's very late, and I'm glad I have the option to watch again. That is so true. You can rewatch Between Friends episodes. They live on our YouTube channel forever. So really good point there. So, and then Kathy says, do any programs besides PEP offer the cross stitch? So Dime software, the only program that has cross stitch is Perfect Embroidery Pro. So none of the other programs have the ability to auto convert to a cross stitch fill, because that's what we call that. We're filling that shape with all those little X's. So it's the only one that has the cross stitch built in. So okay, so let's talk about now the supplies, and I'm going to show you my tip on getting that lined up. So stabilizer, I stitched with Aida. We're talking about Aida cloth here first. So Aida cloth, I stitched with both tearaway and cutaway and had equal success. So I would say to choose your stabilizer based on your project needs. So if you want it to tear away from your Aida cloth because you're doing something specific to it where you don't want the stabilizer behind there, then use the tearaway. It worked great for me. The cutaway, you can leave that in, especially if you're putting it in a hoop, and it'll add some stability. But you will see that cutaway through the weave. So just remember that too. If that is okay, as far as the end results, that's fine. So, but now if you are embroidering on any other type of fabric than Aida cloth, choose the appropriate type of stabilizer for that exact fabric. So like our knits, we usually use a cutaway. And for my tea towel, I always use a tearaway. If you're stitching on something that uses a water soluble, then by all means use that as well. So choose the stabilizer appropriate to the fabric that you're going to be stitching on. And for your bobbin, I used my regular embroidery bobbin and thought that everything turned out great. So my regular embroidery bobbin is generally a lighter weight than our upper thread, and it did fine. I'll show you the back of a couple couple of these designs so that you can see them when I go back under the camera here. And then the needle, I use my 7511 embroidery needle, and your embroidery needle is generally a light ballpoint needle, and it worked fine because the weave is open and the ballpoint can easily slip through that weave, even though it is, you know, a woven fabric. You could also use your sharp point embroidery needle, but I really didn't find it necessary because the weave was open on these particular items. So, okay, so let's talk about hooping this and getting it lined up. And then if you got more questions, we'll answer those coming up. So here, let me show you the backs of some of these before I move them away. So this is the quilting cotton. And you can see what the back looked like. You know, it's those X's. And you can see my long thread where it jumped. And then you can see the little knots where it tied off, because it's going to do the same thing that your embroidery designs do. This is still making a machine embroidery design, so it's still doing all the same thing. And this is using my regular embroidery bobbin. Okay, so that's what the back looks like. Now on this example here, I put it in this hoop just for display purposes. And I did use the tearaway stabilizer. You can see that I ripped away the excess because with hand cross stitch, you don't have anything on the back. So I wanted it to look, you know, like that. And then on the front here, if I zoom in, let me see if I can get it really close and see if it'll actually focus. Look at the holes in the Aida cloth and how my stitches lined up almost entirely through my little chick there. Okay, so it's not perfect for every stitch, but a lot of them did line up. So isn't that cool? I love that. I love how that turned out. And we're going to talk about how we start on that. So, and then on my napkin here, so I actually did a bunny on point on this one here, and I used tearaway. And you can see here, this was actually an adhesive tearaway. So you can see how white it looks. Now on this one, I used a wash away stabilizer. So all I see is my stitches and then my bobbin thread there in the back of my little bow. So really for the fabric that you are stitching on, choose the appropriate type of stabilizer. So on knits, I used our cutaway no-show stabilizer. And that turned out great, I think. So choose the stabilizer based on the fabric. If you're stitching on the Aida cloth, then I either cutaway or tearaway will work just fine. So, okay, so I've got my piece of tearaway and I've got a piece of Aida cloth. So let's talk about hooping this. Okay, so here's what I did. So I folded it in half so that I could kind of get the center here, but I needed to actually keep those points, the holes in my fabric lined up. So what I did was I took my ruler, which I do not see here. So we're going to just use the edge of my hoop here. And so what I did was I lined it up with that, all those little holes there, and I marked with my pen here. So I put my tip of my pen into one of those, and then I just followed it down to make sure that I am staying on that same grain. Okay, so I'm highlighting the weave. Okay, this is my pen that is going to be, it's going to disappear whenever I iron it. So you could use a water soluble one as well. Let me go this direction so I can actually see. And use your ruler. This will be better with your ruler. And so, but I can see my little dots. Okay, and so I'm just marking across those dots so that I stay on that same grain with my fabric. So, and so there you go. There's my center there. And now I'm going to hoop that. So I've got my snap hoop monster. Now you could hoop this fabric with your regular embroidery hoop, but I chose my snap hoop monster because since our hoop is flat, it's going to make sure that everything stays flat and I don't have hoop burn. Okay, so now I'm going to turn on my PAL light here, and then I'm lining my PAL up with the marks that I've made to find the center of my hoop, and then I can actually put my crosshair right where I need it to. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so now we'll put down our stabilizer, and then I can put my fabric on top of that. Now I've just got tearaway in this instance here. And then I'm going to take my magnetic top frame, and I'm just going to hold this fabric down in place, and I'm going to place my hoop, and then I can line up with my, my PAL light. And then I'm going to still hold my fabric while I'm lowering this down in place, okay? Just like that. And so now I've got this centered and my grain of my fabric is straight in my hoop, okay? So then after I did this, I took it to my machine and used my machine features to get this lined up. So here's my center mark there, and my machine feature that can move the design around. So I move that and then I just check that needle to see if it's in one of those holes. And if it's not, then I just advance it a little bit more. I'm so close to the center here that the design is, even though I'm moving it one, little bit to the right or to the left just to get to one of those little holes, you're really not going to notice. So, and then you can see that it just stitches the design just like a regular embroidery design, only it's making an X. Isn't that cool? So, and then all finished, and then you can use that however you want. So here's what I've got. So here's my finished one. And so you can unhoop, and then certainly, I'm going to flip this over because I don't see my shield here. So now I just ripped away my stabilizer. I did use tearaway, and so I would hold your finger next to those stitches so that you don't pull on them. But see on my back here, I've got that one tie off, the machine tied, trimmed, and everything. And then I'm just going to tear away. I'm just holding my finger there so that it doesn't pull my stitches out. But just like that. And then I'll show you some of the little hoops that I used, and then we'll see if you guys have any questions. So isn't that cute? And then this is a pin that's removable with heat, so I can just use my iron to get rid of that. And now for the little projects that I did. So these embroidery hoops that you can purchase at your local store are great for displaying your item. And I think they're cute, but you can also get decorative ones as well. So this one here you can see looks less like the actual hand, the hoop that holds the fabric while we're stitching, and it's more decorative, and you put your fabric in that inner ring around it, and it's got that little hanging thing. But to me, I knew that I did my machine embroidery, so I kind of wanted it to look like it was done in that little hoop. So I chose one of the hoops like this, and then what you're going to do is just take your the hoop that you want to use and loosen that up. And it's really, at this point, it's very much like our embroidery hoop. So you put one piece down and then get that all centered, push it in place just like that. And what I did was I actually cut the excess away, and I'll use this for another project. And then you can see I just tucked it to the back, and then I just used my hot glue gun to keep that down. But some of these little frames, like this one, for instance, it actually has a little piece that covers the back. So I purchased these, and it's specifically for display. And then this actually covers the back with this little thin piece of wood there. Isn't that cute? So adorable. But of course, you can do other things with them. You don't have to leave those in your in those hoops. So really cute, right? So let's see what questions that we have. So here's what I did with mine. I used it as a little decor on a tray, and I actually created that design for display, and then I even created that little hello spring there to accent my little tray that I had. So isn't that cute for spring? So I love that. And then I used my little bunny place setting, and then I made an in the hoop carrot, and then put Peter, as in Peter Cottontail. So that's his place card there for that little setting. So isn't that adorable? So I love that for spring. So cute. So what are you guys going to do with your cross stitch once you start doing your cross stitch design? So let me know that over there in the chat. So I'd love to hear what you're going to be doing with yours. So let's see if we've got any questions here. So Mary S. Larson, thanks for being here, Mary. Does it work on a multi-needle? Yes, it does. In fact, Mary, some of these designs that you've seen, I did on my multi-needle. Some of them I did on my single needle. So yes, the embroidery machine type model doesn't matter. It's an embroidery file, so the machine will stitch it just as it does an embroidery design. So really easy. And then Norma Bates says she doesn't have PEP. Hey, Norma, that's okay. There's plenty of designers out there that sell cross-stitch type designs. If you just search, you can play around with this technique too, and have fun. So definitely check it out. Lots of people that create them. So, and then Laura says, I'm liking PEP more and more all the time. I'm telling myself I need PEP. So yes, I definitely agree with you, Laura. And then Mary Ann says, PEP is amazing. It does everything and so easily. So, and then Facebook user, I can't wait to try this. So that's awesome. So glad you like that. And then Natalie Bush says, what about a placement marker? Placement marker. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Natalie, if you want to give more detail, but if you're talking about like our placement stickers or either positioning stickers for the machines, you certainly could use those as well. I just chose to draw the line because I really wanted to see that those holes in the weave, and that gets a little complicated because it's so small when you're at the machine. So, but certainly you can use placement stickers, and it is not necessary for that to be 100% lined up. I just wanted to give you a tip on lining it up if it was something that you wanted to do. So I love that. And then Patsy Downer says, when do you get the little frames, and have you ever seen them? So where do I get them? Yes, so I just ordered them on the internet. If you search for embroidery hoops, they'll come up, hand embroidery hoops, also hand embroidery frames to display your hand embroidery. Plenty of them will come up, so you can certainly check those. Also check your local craft stores. I love supporting my local stores. So they have the supplies that you need for doing cross stitch. They probably have the frames too. So like check for your Michael's, Hobby Lobby, your local shop if you have one that does more with handwork as well. So tons of little information so you can do. So hopefully you guys like that. I really had fun. It was it really I think just something different. So it was really fun to do those different designs. So, and then Facebook user says, yes, or the snowman. Yes, any of those would work. I just wanted a longer line to make sure I was staying, straight with the grain too. So, and then I see Colleen is over there on our designs page, and she says she loved the napkin. Thank you. She said, can you use other types of fabric other than the Aida cloth? And yes, you can. Oh, she says, yes, you answered it. Sorry, but I'll say it again. It's okay. So you can cross stitch. A machine embroidery cross stitch design can be done on any type of fabric. It does not have to be Aida cloth. I just wanted to use the Aida cloth to give it the appearance of hand stitching. So really great question. So thank you for joining us over there. So, and then I did that cute little carrot there was just an in the hoop design, and that's HTV. And then my little bunny there was the cross stitch. And that was just a bunny shape that I filled with the cross stitch. So, and then HTV in the bow. So isn't that adorable? So perfect time to tell you that all month long, all of our hoops are on special. So if you don't have a dime hoop, snap hoop, or magnetic hoop, or a sticky hoop, please take advantage of these specials. Or if you do have one and you've been eyeing another size or maybe a duplicate, I know I have several 4x4 and 5x7 because I use those a lot. So it's always nice to have a couple of extras on hand. So all hoops are on sale for this month, so take advantage. When you're stitching the Aida cloth, it is stiff because it's pre-starched, so it really was much easier to work with my magnetic hoop than trying to deal with that stiff fabric. But you could also use your sticky hoop. It would work great as well because our sticky stabilizer tear away or wash away. So love that. Okay, well, I know that you guys probably are also wanting to see what's going on with the On the House project. So as you guys know, our On the House design is a free design that we announce every week, and we would love it if you would share with us what you're making with your On the House designs. They are 100% free. You can find them over at dzgns.com, and you can share hashtag Dime Sew Along, hashtag On the House, or hashtag Exquisite Thread, and we can find your project, and then we will add you to the reel that you're about to see. So take a look at what everybody has been stitching with these On the House designs. So cute, right? So make sure you post what you've been making with the on the house design so we can find your post and add it to the reel so that we can see what everyone has been making. So I love that. Now, the last week of the month, we always announce a project for the on the house. So not only is it a design, but it's a design that gets turned into a cute project. And I want to welcome my friend Sue Brown on the screen because she is always here for the project because she does a sew along, right, Sue?
Oh, I love the sew-alongs. Best part of the month is the end of the month because they're always so good and so much fun.
I
Love
totally
it.
agree. Well, Sue, just in case we have some viewers that are maybe unfamiliar with your sew along, so why don't you tell them a little bit about it? So you use the on the house project and then you stitch. Everybody can join you. So tell them all about it.
Step-by-step instructions on how to complete it. It's on Saturday mornings. Actually, we do a stitch along every Saturday morning at
Nice.
10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's where the OML gang gets together and we have a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody else actually stitches, but they do learn. They do learn. And it's
I'm
a lot
sure.
of fun. So on
Yeah.
the OML embroidery YouTube channel. That's where
Yeah.
we are.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that they'll be excited to do that. And it is nice that you do it step by step so that they can follow along if they truly want to. So we all love to sew and enjoy sharing it with all of the other people that we love being around, right?
Absolutely. And we have a lot of fun, and I make mistakes and fix the
Yeah.
mistakes. It's all very, low key. It's all
Yeah.
about fun.
Yeah. We all make mistakes, Sue, no matter how much you do this, right?
That's why I do all my things live, because if
Yeah.
my needle's going to fall out,
It's going to
yours
happen
will
live.
too. You
Yes.
have to know how to fix it. So
Well, that's a very good point. Very good point. Well, Sue, I know that you probably are excited to see what the project is this week. So, are you ready?
can't wait. Whew. Okay, ready.
All
Ready.
right. So, you are going to love this. This is super duper cute. So, this week's on the house design, isn't that adorable?
I
Oh my
love
gosh.
it. I
Yes.
love it.
So this is a little treat bag. So it is embroidered face, and then the instructions, as you know, will give the step by step for actually assembling the bag. So it is done with your sewing machine, and then you embroider the face. These little bags, I know, was such a cute idea for little treats and things. And these are everywhere. I know that people see these, but this is our version. Eileen created this cute little design. It does have batting, so the ears stand up really nicely, and then the little embroidered face there to make that bunny shape. So isn't that adorable? I can't wait to see everybody's design with this. So, and
So
then Sue, I know that you're a fan too of our exquisite thread, and we always list our exquisite thread colors here for the project. So if someone wants to duplicate our results exactly, they can do so. They list those thread colors. And you use our exquisite thread too, right?
Oh, that's all I use. That's all I use.
Awesome.
I absolutely love it. It seems to have this magical thing that if I want pink to match exactly, I have it. And I
Yeah.
don't know why it works, but and then of course we don't need to talk about it, but variegated thread and the color plays just wow.
Yeah,
My
absolutely.
favorite. Yeah.
I totally agree. So, and of course, we give this list of colors that we used in the project, but hey, Sue, they can use any color they want, right?
I usually change it up. I
Yeah.
probably won't do a pink bunny. It'll probably be, black with Kingstar gold or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Change it
Kingstar,
up.
that'd be great. So, and that's
Anything that
adorable.
you want to do, just do it. But those
Yeah.
are really cute.
Yes, I thought they are adorable too and perfect and timely. So, and I'll show you what I did with mine. I didn't fill mine with treats, but I'll show you what I did with mine here at the end. But let's talk about the steps that you're going to go through, Sue, and share with everybody during that sew along to make. So, this is a very simple project, but oh so cute when it's done. So, you're going to cut your fabric and then you're going to measure for the placement of the little bunny face, and that's all included in the instructions. Placing that template in that location will help get it lined up. So you can use our target sticker, print and stick target paper. You can also use your machine positioning sticker, as someone had mentioned too earlier. So, and then that location is where you're going to embroider that little bunny face. So really super easy. And then once you're done, you're going to cut out a triangle to form, this is what's going to form the ears of the bunny little treat bag here. You're going to do that with both the outer fabric, and you're going to have a piece of batting and lining, Sue. So you'll cut that triangle to form the little ears whenever it's cinched up. So really simple so far, right?
Absolutely. So cute too.
Yes, adorable. And then a little bit of sewing. So you're going to stitch the side seams. You're going to fold your fabric in half and stitch those side seams of both the outer fabric and the lining and the batting together. And then the lining and the batting, you'll leave an opening just as you would expect so that you can turn that when we get to the end. And then you're going to box the corners. And to box the corners, you're just going to fold the fabric flat across the seam and then stitch 1/2 end from your point of your bag. So, and then once you do that, you can trim off the excess fabric to about 1/4 inch. And then you're going to place your outer fabric into the lining and batting. So you'll then have one piece all together and then right sides together, and you're going to sew along that V. And that opening that we left on the lining is where we'll be turning that inside out. So then you're going to clip that V there in between what will be the ears so that it has a nice point when you turn it inside out. And then you're going to turn it, press it, close the opening, fill it with any treats, and then enjoy your little bag. So what do you think, Sue?
I love it. Absolutely. And we'll go over the measuring and the cutting, and I can switch my luminaire over to sewing and we'll
Love
sew
that.
it too. So
Yeah.
everyone can join in and everyone can make a bunny.
Love that. Yes. Well, I didn't fill mine with treats. And so here's what I did with mine, Sue. So we talked about the little cross stitch there, and I did my little sign and my little in the hoop. And then look at that. My little bunny bag made a really nice embellishment for my little tray there. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect.
so if you don't need all that sugar, you could fill it with something healthier,
I
or
need it.
you could just stuff it if you want, and it's a cute little decoration for your entryway. So adorable, right, Sue?
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Well,
It's going to be
very
so
cool.
much fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that everybody's going to love it. It's simple, it's quick, and it just makes a cute little way to give some treats to somebody that is important to you. So I love that. So Sue, that is the last thing that I have, but I do want to let everybody know that Eileen will be back next week. So you will see her, and I'll give you a little hint. She will be talking about quilting, and so make sure you join her. Everybody loves quilting with their embroidery machine. She's going to be talking about quilting foam, so that if you need fabric or quilted foam for your bags, or maybe even placemats. So join her next week on Between Friends to see what exciting things that she's got to share. So and I want to just remind everybody to get your hoop while it's on special. You can also certainly take advantage of that and get more than one hoop if you want. And while they're on special, sticky or snap hoop monster magnetic hoops. So it's a really great sale. So I see a couple of questions that we'll answer, Sue, before we go here. So Donna says, is your bunny on the tier tray smaller? So no, it's not. I did it the exact size just as the design was created, and it's all one size. If you certainly wanted to adjust yours to make it smaller, you certainly could. You would just make your fabric smaller and then probably lower the location of your design. You could always even resize the face slightly if you needed to. But I did original size, and his ears were touching underneath. But hey, it worked out good, I think. So just checking here. I think that's all of our questions and our comments that we have. So Sue, I just want to tell you also thanks for joining. I know everybody's going to have a blast stitching along with you this Saturday for that free little project. And then until we have another Between Friends, I'll say bye for now, and I will see you next time.
Bye, everyone. See you Saturday. There we go.